Hi everybody, I'm Gwendoline, the General Manager of Profession Voyage, the Quebec publication of Travelweek, and I will be your host today for this new webinar. Today we are going to speak about the beautiful destination of Seattle. Stay until the end because there is a prize to win. During the presentation, if you have any question, please use the chat box at the bottom of your screen right now. So first, I would like to introduce you to Corey Marshall, the Account Director for Visit Seattle in Canada. Hi, Corey.
Hi, and thanks, Gwendolyn. Nice to be here with everyone today, and good afternoon. So I am Corey Marshall, the Account Director, and as of September last year, Visit Seattle engaged us to help them in Canada, and specifically for Canadian trade. And I'm joined today by Caitlin Shearer, who is live on location from Seattle, although heading to Canada very shortly, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. Just so everyone's aware, Caitlin's background is in the travel trade space. So she's worked with Pacific Alaska Tours, she's worked with Holland America Line, she's worked with a small heli tour company. And so what's really great about that is she has a background in trade ready and what trade ready means, the importance of trade, and she's been an absolute delight to work with since we started. Matter of fact, today, Caitlin, you're hosting 3 Canadian agents, I believe. Is that right?
I am, and Canadians, you're just the best to come visit. You are so much fun. We're having so much fun in the city. It's been a great week.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so those 3 agents won their way there in a partnership with Air Canada called Sell Your Way to the USA that we ran this past fall, and they're now experiencing Seattle. But as I mentioned, Caitlin's actually on her way to Toronto and Montreal Monday and Tuesday next week. So some of you may get to see her in person. And she's there to kind of work with tour operators and trade to develop more packaged product. But stay tuned for more great opportunities to win your way to Seattle later in the year. But in the meantime, we're here today to talk about spring and summertime in Seattle. And there's no better person to do that than Caitlin. So Caitlin, why don't you walk us through what that means to be in Seattle in the spring and summer?
I can absolutely do that. All right. Summertime in Seattle. So spring is here, the days are getting longer, and everything is in bloom. It's just my favorite time of year. So I'm very excited to talk to everyone here about what we have in the great city of Seattle. So to get started, getting here. So we have the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. It is an award-winning airport with a brand new international arrivals facility. We have 30 nonstop international flights, 7 of which come from Canada. We've got Montreal, Toronto, Edmonton. Edmonton actually has new nonstop summer service with WestJet. We've also got Calgary, Kelowna, Victoria, and then daily nonstop flights with Air Canada out of Vancouver. By plane, train, and boat. So we've got all 3 covered. We've got Amtrak service. We've got ferry boats here in the Puget Sound, as well as the Victoria, Clipper, and Blackball ferry service that connects Seattle to Western Canada. And then float plane. Float planes are so iconic to Seattle and a really wonderful way to explore the region. And float planes actually land they take off and land from downtown Seattle on South Lake Union with both Harbor Air and Kenmore Air. And then Seattle, we really are we consider ourselves the gateway to the Pacific Northwest as well as the gateway to Alaska. So here in Seattle, we have 50% of the cruises that sail up to Alaska. So a pretty dynamite spot to start and stop those cruises up to Alaska. So last year in 2022, we were home to 16 port ships, and we've got just about every cruise line covered, including Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Holland, Norwegian, and Princess. We've got 2 cruise terminals downtown. One thing we love to point out is how accessible they are to downtown Seattle. So Pier 66, you can see up there in the top right, that is right downtown. That is just a stone's throw from Pike Place Market. You could actually walk from your downtown hotel to your ship at Pier 66. If you're not at 66, you're at Pier 91 down there at the bottom of your screen. And those ships, that's just about a 10-minute drive from any one of our downtown hotels. So very, very, very accessible. So exploring Seattle, we're kind of going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about, some of our top attractions here in the city. We'll break it out by neighborhood, and then we'll kind of focus on what's happening here in the summer and spring. A couple shoulder seasons as well in the fall time as well. We'll highlight a couple of our very fun festivals that happen throughout the year. So to get started with those iconic spots, we've got the Space Needle. Everybody's familiar with the Space Needle. Built in 1962 for the World's Fair, the Space Needle stands about 180 meters high. It actually has the world's first and only fully rotating glass floor. When you stand on that floor and you look straight down, it's about 150 meters off the ground. Very, very fun, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful views. Another way to get that bird's eye view, we've got the Skyview Observatory and Smith Tower. So Skyview Observatory sits at about 73 stories high, and in just as many, in about 70 seconds, it will take you to the very top. So the Skyview Observatory is actually the tallest building in the city. 360-degree views, you actually look down on the Space Needle. Smith Tower is just a little south in our Pioneer Square neighborhood. Smith Tower back in 1914 was the tallest building west of the Mississippi. It is definitely not the tallest building anymore, but it is a very iconic landmark in the city. Lots of history there. Take you up to the top. They've got wonderful food and beverage up there. Again, those 360-degree views of the city. Pike Place Market, another really wonderful spot. So this is one of the country's oldest and largest operating markets. Lots and lots to see and do in the market. It is one of the best ways to experience the market is with a food tour. So we have two operators in the city that operate food tours, Eat Seattle Tours and Savor Seattle Tours. Pike Place Market is a great spot to explore on your own, but if you just want to elevate that experience, if your clients are looking for a different way to get to know the market, you get history of the city, history of the market, and you get to taste your way through. It is a very, very tasty option. Just down from Pike's Place, we have the very iconic Seattle waterfront. So we have lots and lots of wonderful seafood options here, very walkable. It's actually undergoing a pretty extensive expansion right now. It's going to be very well connected from Pike Place Market down to that waterfront. The Seattle Aquarium is going to be expanding. It's going to have about 17 blocks of a really wonderful pedestrian walkway, lots of greenery. So it's going to be a real lot of what you can find down there. That boat in the middle, that's Argosy Cruises. They do a few options on the water, including a harbor cruise and a locks cruise. The locks connects that Puget Sound saltwater to the freshwater of Lake Union. So a very unique way to experience the water here in Seattle. And then we've got the Great Wheel there on the left. I mentioned the Seattle Aquarium. That is also down. A wonderful, wonderful family option for exploring. And then just south of there, you've got Pier 57. So again, that Great Wheel in the background. Salish Sea Tours, they also do a wonderful harbor tours there. They also have Wings Over Washington, which is one of those kind of virtual reality experiences where you get to soar with birds and explore the city. Our fam group did that yesterday, and it was an absolute blast. So if you shift from the waterfront, you are going to you're going to go back to the Space Needle and Chihuly Garden and Glass. So Chihuly Garden and Glass is right there next to the Space Needle. This is one of my favorite spots in the city. This is home to all of the artwork of Dale Chihuly. You can experience Chihuly Garden and Glass 3 ways. They've got their exhibition halls with 8 different galleries. They have the Glass House, which has the largest suspended sculpture of Dale Chihuly. It's over 100 feet long and is made up of over 1,300 individual pieces of glass. And then the garden, which has just the most beautiful plants that are all native to Seattle and the Pacific Northwest. And within those plants, you find all of his beautiful glass art. Right there next to Chihuly and Space Needle, we also have the Museum of Pop Culture, known as MoPop. For those who have come to Seattle in the past, you might have been here before. It used to be Experience Music Project, or EMP. Mopop is a really great family option. There's really something for everyone here. They've got hip hop exhibit, grunge exhibit. Grunge music really came out of Seattle with Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Jimi Hendrix is featured there. They also have films. They have a fantasy film, and then also a horror film exhibit as well. They have a sound lab where kids can go and like bang on drums and strum a guitar. So really, from grandkids to grandparents, there is absolutely something for everyone at Mopop. It's a really great family option. The Museum of Flight, you will find that just a little south of downtown. It's going to be right off of Boeing Field. Museum of Flight is a really great option. We get asked here at Visit Seattle all the time about the Boeing tour. That is just north of Seattle. That has been suspended since COVID. The rumor is in 2023, it will be coming back. We're just not sure when. I'll let everyone know the minute we know. In the meantime, though, and even without the Boeing tour, the Museum of Flight is a really great museum. This is the world's largest independent nonprofit air and space museum. So they are home to 175 aircraft and spacecraft. They have millions of rare photos and dozens of exhibits. You can explore the museum on your own. They also have docents as well that can kind of take you on a tour. And then sports. I am actually wearing a Mariners t-shirt right now. It is our home opener for the Mariners. We've got baseball with the Mariners. We've got football with the Seahawks. We also have hockey. So we're actually heading to go see a Kraken game tonight. So we've got all of those sports covered. And most recently, actually, we just announced that we have a Major League Cricket team called the Orcas. So everyone's covered there. All of our major arenas and sports facilities have tours. So if your clients are looking to experience that game day, and they want to elevate it just a little bit, they can get that kind of behind the scenes with a sports arena tour. So Seattle City Pass, this is a wonderful addition to the city here, a wonderful way for your clients to experience the city. We've got we have two options. So our Seattle City Pass offers, you get 6 different options. Included, you get the Space Needle and the Seattle Aquarium. You also get admission to 3 other options. Choosing from Argosy Cruises Harbor Tour, the Museum of Pop Culture, Woodland Park Zoo, and Chihuly Garden and Glass. If you have not as much time and you just want to see a couple of those same options exist for the C3 Pass. And so the C3 Pass gets you admission to 3 of those attractions, as opposed to the 5. All right, shifting gears. Festivals. We have lots and lots of things going on in Seattle and around the region. This young lady is up in Skagit Valley for our Tulip Festival. So this is just around the corner, and it really is it sings spring here in Seattle. Acres and acres of beautiful, beautiful tulips. Folks come from all over to experience the Tulip Festival. Music, this is Sir Mix-a-Lot. He's a hometown hero here, one of my favorites. Music is everywhere in the city. I mentioned grunge. We really are the birthplace of grunge music here, but you can really find all kinds of music here in Seattle. In the summertime, in September, you'll find Bumbershoot. They are actually celebrating their 50th anniversary. We also have kind of neighborhood festivals. The Capitol Hill Block Party in July is a really wonderful one. And in the fall, we have Cloudbreak. So this photo here with Sir Mix-a-Lot, he actually opened Cloudbreak for clients who want to come visit us kind of in that fall time. Cloudbreak is a month-long citywide festival. If you are staying in a downtown Seattle hotel, you get free admission to one of 20 shows throughout the month. Last year it was in November, and details are coming out soon about that. But Cloudbreak is a really wonderful way to experience the city and all the music we have to offer. Seafair, this is Seattle's unofficial city celebration. So This includes parades and air show and hydroplane races. This happens every August. You will find locals and visitors alike spending so much time on the water. Seafair really is just a ton of fun. Refract, shifting back to the fall. So Seattle, we really are kind of the home for that glass blown art that you see there in that photo. Chihuly Garden and Glass is really an example of that. Refract is an annual glass art festival, and this happens every year in October. You can experience one-of-a-kind exhibits, and then glass blown artists, they will open their studios to the city. We've got over 70 studios here in the city. And so if you are an art lover and want to experience that, the fall, from summer into fall is a really wonderful time to come, and you can experience what we have to offer with Refract. And then in February, so we're getting a little outside of summer, but Seattle Museum Month is one we always want to let folks know about. We have so many museums here. Seattle Museum Month happens every February. And for guests visiting Seattle, for visitors to Seattle, if you stay at any one of our downtown Seattle hotels, you will get half off admission to any one of our over 30 participating museums. All right. So shifting from that, kind of just talk about Seattle as a city of neighborhoods. Really, really fun way to explore Seattle because every neighborhood has something different. So Seattle's core, so this is kind of that downtown core. We've got the Pike Place Market and the waterfront and Space Needle, Chihuly, Mopop. So you'll find all of that kind of there in that Seattle core. If you go a little south, you'll find our International District. This is just full of community and culture. It's so vibrant. The Wing Luke Museum is a wonderful option if you want to learn a little bit about the history of the International District. You can find some really wonderful food as well. Dumplings and noodles are just around every corner. So really, really fun exploring the International District. Pioneer Square, this is where Smith Tower is. This is the oldest neighborhood in Seattle. So the first neighborhood of Seattle, it was developed in the late 1800s. In 1889, a fire took out about 30 blocks of Pioneer Square, and you can learn all about that history on one of our underground tours. Pioneer Square, it's kind of a city built on top of a city. And if you go on one of those underground tours, you actually get to go beneath the streets and explore and see what Seattle's first neighborhood actually looked like. It's a very, very cool way to discover the history of our city. Alki Beach in West Seattle, this is just a beautiful spot. They've got really wonderful restaurants and outdoor recreation. You can take a water taxi from downtown Seattle just across Elliott Bay to Alki. And you'll see this volleyball scene happening just about every night in the summer here on Alki Beach. So Ballard is home to our commercial fishing scene, among other things. This shot here is a fisherman's terminal. So you'll find a bunch of commercial fishing boats here. We are home to the deadliest catch in Alaska. So a lot of those really big commercial boats that fish up in the winter for crab, they live here at Fisherman's Terminal. Ballard is also home to the National Nordic Museum. And just in Ballard as well is Lake Union. And on Lake Union, you can rent a boat, a hot tub boat, a kayak, stand-up paddleboard. It's just a wonderful way to experience the city is by water, and Ballard is kind of the start for that. Fremont as well. Fremont is home to lots of breweries. We also have the Fremont Troll and Gasworks Park that are very iconic to Seattle. I'm sure you've seen photos of those. We're also home to some tech companies here. Tableau and Google also live in Fremont. And Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill is really the center of Seattle's LGBTQ scene. You can brown bag lunch at Cal Anderson Park, catch a drag show at the Queer Bar, or take a stroll through Volunteer Park, where you'll find the Seattle Asian Art Museum. Lots and lots of really good food up there as well. And the Starbucks Reserve Roastery is there as well. And you get just kind of a very unique perspective of our very iconic Starbucks coffee. And you can book a tour with a tasting there. And then South Lake Union. So Seattle, we're really known for those houseboats. And so there's a little glimpse of those there. Sleepless in Seattle, Tom Hanks, he lived on a houseboat. I mentioned those float planes. South Lake Union is actually their runway. So they'll come and go from there. Just a really beautiful spot. Again, Lake Union, it's just all about the water in Seattle. We're surrounded by water on 3 sides here. So lots to explore on the water. And then when all else fails, you want to learn like a local. So iknowaplace.org is a campaign we've got here at Visit Seattle. And if you hop on there, you can get all sorts of recommendations and inspiration for visiting Seattle and discovering those local spots. And then really quickly, just where we are kind of in the state of Washington. So Seattle is located in the state of Washington. They're on the west side. We are the evergreen state in Washington. Washington state, we are actually home to 3 national parks. So the top there, we've got Mount Rainier National Park, beautiful, beautiful hiking and camping. Crystal Mountain is actually is the largest ski hill here in the state of Washington, and it is neighboring to Mount Rainier National Park. So lots and lots of outdoor recreation there. North Cascades National Park is going to be a little bit north. It's a couple hour north, a few hours north of Seattle. And this is our most remote, but it might be our most beautiful. You can see that beautiful alpine lake there. Again, lots of outdoor recreation. And then the Olympic National Park is going to be west out on the peninsula there. This is home to the Hoh Rainforest. It is the quietest spot on Earth and absolutely beautiful. We actually have a few different operators that do day tours from Seattle to visit any one of these 3 parks. Evergreen Escapes is probably the most well-known, very familiar working with trade, FIT and groups, and they do a really outstanding job, door-to-door service. They'll pick your clients up at their downtown hotel, take them on their adventure, and then tuck them in at the end of the day and drop them off at their hotel. Just north, we have the San Juan Islands, very iconic to the Puget Sound in Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, absolutely beautiful. You've got whale watching here. You've got very quaint little, seaside towns. There's wineries and lavender farms, kayaking. It's just absolutely beautiful and very relaxing and serene. I was just through there a couple weekends ago, and it's definitely worth a visit. And then Washington wine. So Walla Walla is on the bottom right-hand part of your screen. Walla Walla is really kind of our home for Washington wine. So Washington State is actually the 2nd largest producer of wine in the country behind California. And so you'll find a lot of it in Walla Walla. Just north of Seattle, about 30 minutes, you'll find Woodinville. And Woodinville is a wonderful hop, skip, and jump from Seattle. Like I mentioned, it's just 30 minutes. And they've got, I think, over 60 tasting rooms in Woodinville. You can hop on a bike and explore the city. Very tasty. If you aren't into wine and you would rather have a craft brew, Washington State actually produces 75% of the country's hops. And so lots of wonderful brewery options as well. And I think that kind of wraps up what we've got here. And with that, I'll kind of bring the group back. And that's it.
Hello. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I think we are all agree to say that we would like to visit Seattle soon. Thank you. Thank you. Are you ready for the questions?
Yeah. All
right. So the first question is, what is the top season to visit you?
Ooh, they're all going to be great. I would say my favorite season is really the fall. So you'll get, you've got these beautiful colors. The weather is still pretty mild. The days are still a little long. Lots to see and do. Not too cold, not very rainy, not too hot. It's just right. So fall is pretty wonderful.
Nice. A question for you both. Your personal favorite spots in the city?
Ooh. I think my personal favorite spot is kind of going to be anywhere on the water. I mentioned it a little bit. We are surrounded by water on 3 sides, and taking a like a kayak or just renting a boat on Lake Union, and just experiencing that. You're surrounded by the city, but just beyond the city, you have the mountains and this beautiful lake. You can jump right in and swim. Anywhere on the water in Seattle is going to be my favorite spot.
Yeah, and
Corey,
mine, I've said this before, but my favorite spot, and Caitlin kind of talked about this earlier, was Pike's Market. You always learn something new when you're there, but we're in tourism and hospitality, and there's a book called Fish, and it talks about service and providing amazing service to your guests. And it's all about the fish market. It's part of Pike's Market and how they throw the fish and get everyone involved. And so definitely that's my favorite spot, just to see tourism at its best and finest.
Yeah, I think it's mine too, by the way. Okay, let's continue. So we have a quick question about the transportation. Do you have any shuttles from the airport to downtown?
We do. Actually, that's a great question. I'm sorry I didn't mention it. We have lots of different transportation options, Uber and Lyft are here, but we have our Link light rail system that actually connects the airport to downtown Seattle. It's $7 round trip ticket. It's super fast, clean, affordable way to access the city. You're downtown in about 30 minutes from the airport. So that is one of my favorite ways to get into the city. I actually used to work by the airport, and if I had to go into the city for a meeting, I would hop on that Link light rail. And then in the summertime, there's different options, and I'd be happy to send those out as a follow-up. We've got a bunch of different transportation companies and options in the city if you're looking for anything specific.
Nice. And about the experiences, is there like any unique or luxury experience that we can do in Seattle?
Oh, yes. Seattle is so fun because there's those iconic experiences like Pike Place and the Space Needle, but you can elevate them to that luxury. So at the Space Needle, for example, they have the Loop Lounge. And so I mentioned that fully rotating glass floor. The Loop Lounge is actually on the glass floor. So you're sitting, having a cocktail, looking down through that glass floor, if you're very brave. But they have craft cocktails and just the most delicious bites. You have to reserve it in advance. It costs a little bit more. And you definitely, you notice that when you are up there with the taste of your food and the cocktails and the service. But then also just experiencing Seattle and around Seattle. If you wanted to hop up to the San Juan Islands, a luxurious way to do that is by float plane. Really wonderful. And then Woodinville, mentioned Woodinville. You can go up to Woodinville and experience the wines there, but there's all of these different options. Chateau Ste. Michelle is a very well-known wine, a label that comes out of Washington State, and you can go to their tasting room and you can actually make your own blend and bring that home. So just lots of different ways to experience, to just kind of elevate and add some luxury.
Nice. So would you say that Seattle is a luxury destination? How do you position the destination in the market?
Well, it's funny. So with our group that we've got here, you can really position it in any way. We were like, today would be a great day if you want to get all the guys together and do like a game day, because we've got the Mariners and the Kraken. And there's all sorts of like fun pubs and restaurants that can support that. Girls Weekend is another one. Lots of wonderful family options as well, but also luxury. We've got some really great luxury brands here in the city, but also if you want to get outside of the city, we've got luxury in that they're very unique. And so we've got these really rustic mountain lodges that are just a few hours outside of the city. And so if you want to experience the Pacific Northwest in kind of a rustic, luxurious way, there's all sorts of different ways to experience luxury, but also several different ways to experience the city and spin those itineraries to the clientele you're working with.
So this is for every client.
Yes, for every client.
Well, and I think the other one from Canada that's really appropriate is the business traveler, like having that leisure extended stay, because there is so much to see and do, and there's a lot of cross-border business travel that happens between Seattle and Toronto and Seattle, Montreal, Calgary, etc. That's why there's all these flights as well. So I think you've given a lot of reasons to extend that business traveler's stay over a weekend or to see a sports game or whatever.
Yeah.
Nice. So we have a last question. I don't know. What are the proper procedures for dropping off a group with a coach going on an NCL cruise?
Ooh, so they have, if they're with an organized tour, that's a very good question. The traffic that comes with the cruise ships with buses, that used to be a former life of mine, and it's organized chaos down there. They know exactly what they're doing. And so, I mean, if it's an organized tour, the bus is going to know exactly when they need to be in there. But if they're trying to catch the cruise with like an Uber or a taxi, they have those lanes as well. So there's access however you need to get to the cruise ship. And the Port of Seattle really does an outstanding job of directing traffic and making sure everyone gets there in a timely way and when they need to get there. If that answered the question, I hope it did.
Yeah, I think so. I have another question from the same person. These days, where can a full-size coach drop off and pick up for the Pike Place Market?
So there's a few different like side streets, and I would be happy to send those coordinates to whoever's asking. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head. There's a lot of construction happening right now with the waterfront expansion. And so some of those standard spots where the motor coaches will stop and drop off and pick up, they're shifting. But we actually have like a running list of motor coach stops around the city for access to the market. So I'd be happy to send those directly to anybody who needs them. But all of those motor coach companies, if you're working with a motor coach company, they're going to be that best resource for you. They know exactly where to go and where they can stop. But either way, I'd be happy to connect anyone with a motor coach operator or get those answers for you myself.
For those who wonder, like they asked the question about your email, Kathleen. So just to let you know, you will receive an email tomorrow with the contact details of Kathleen and also the link for the replay of the presentation today. So no worries about that. And also the name of the winner, because if you stay until the end, you can win a prize. So I think I'm done for the questions. If you have any more questions, let us know now. Otherwise, maybe Corey, I'll let you do a final speech.
Final speech.
Yes.
No, it's been awesome to have Caitlin on and talk about everything in spring and summer. As well, we're in partnership with Travelweek. So we have a Seattle landing page that you'll be able to access on Travelweek's website. It's already existing, and this obviously presentation will be added to that. That'll have our details as well. And I see Natalie's heading to Seattle at the end of May, which we're super excited about. So if you are heading there and you need some insider tips as well, just let us know. It's a great destination. If you want to win your way there, stay tuned later in the year. We're in discussions with Air Canada to bring that incentive back. But yeah, just really appreciate everyone's time today. I'm excited that Caitlin's heading up to Canada next week for the first time since she started in this role anyways. But she's been such an ambassador, and just want to thank her as well as Travelweek for this today. Caitlin, your last words?
Just very excited to see everyone on this call down in Seattle. Whenever you do, just drop us a line. I'd love to help you build itineraries, get you in contact with who you need to. It really is, it's just a dynamite city to visit and send your clients. So any questions, just let us know. And thank you so much for this opportunity and the time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kathleen. I see you next week in Montreal, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. So thank you. We'll get back to you by email tomorrow with all the details about the presentation today. Have a great day, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.